Hello, lovely human beings. It's Loretta with Sparrowhawker Designs. Welcome back to my channel. So this is my block for April's Roxy's Journal of Stitchery for the month of April. The prompts were to use an old quilt and a house. So this one was a ton of fun. I didn't do as much stitching on this as I did the last one, but the last one I did enough stitching for the whole book. So I don't feel too bad that I didn't do a ton of stitching on this, but I didn't really think it needed it though, actually. So anyway, so I used a very old piece of trim up here on the sky. This is a piece of quilt from an old cutter quilt I have. This yo-yo is from Melanie Sullivan when we did our little swap last year. And then this is a tag, I think it's a dry cleaning tag or a laundry, it's a laundry tag, I think is what it is. Anyway, Rachel, actually from Roxy Creations, sent that to me when we did our slow stitch swap last year. So that and that both came from the slow stitch swap that I was in, that we participated in last year. Let's see. The fabric on the house is old fabric from the 40s that a fellow quilter gave me. It was her mother's. And then I just did some, this is pistol stitch, some lazy daisies, and some French knots. And then I did just like an X stitch along the edge there. And then the rest is just straight stitch and blanket stitch up here on the roof. So there's also another old piece of lace down here in the grass. So anyway, oh, and then I just put some pearls in the, this is the awning of the house. And I'm deciding that CH stands for cheerful house. That's what I'm deciding. Anyway, I just thought that really just, I don't know why that just set off the whole block, I thought. But anyway, so there's April's block. You guys, if you are unfamiliar with what I'm talking about, go check out Roxy Creations and then Roxy Creations by Sarah. They are two sisters, Rachel and Sarah, and they are co-hosting this Stitch Along for journal. I did just want to say that there, some people were concerned because they didn't have a piece of old quilt to use, and that's what the prompts were. So this is a piece of old quilt, plus I sewed it on a piece of old quilt as well. But this, the house, I quilted myself. So all I did was just cut a piece of, I think I used felt, but you could use batting or wadding as they say in Europe. You could use, let's see, you could use wool or flannel, something that's a little bit thicker than cotton. And then this piece of cotton anyway was super sheer. So when I laid it down, everything else was the roof was sticking up and it just didn't look right. So I just quilted a piece on there, and you can see the quilting along there. So if you don't have an old piece of cutter quilt, you can just make your own. And I did want to say, so what I did was, I have a very big old quilt that I have been using to cut up for crafts and stuff. And in fact, I had put some of it up in my shop too. I had sold some of it in my shop. If I had known that's what she was going to do this month, I would have had some in the shop. But anyway, on this big quilt, so I try not to cut up quilts because, they are quilt heritage. So the only time I cut up quilts is when they are starting to look like this, or they have a big stain that no matter what I have done, I just can't get rid of, So this quilt there were 3 blocks in the 20 blocks that she did, and they were big blocks, that she used this particular fabric on, and it just completely disintegrated. I think it might have originally been a purple, because purples kind of, over time with oxidation, they turn brown. And you can see this fabric right next to it is perfectly fine. And the 3 blocks that she used this on are all like this. They're all just falling apart. Whereas the rest of the quilt was in pretty good shape. A little threadbare, but pretty good shape. So that's why I was like, okay, this is, and the edging and binding was getting very worn as well. So I was like, okay, I can cut that up. So, yeah, I as a quilter, my grandmother was a quilter. I kind of hesitate to just cut up perfectly good quilts because I know like the time that went into it, and it's part of our quilt heritage. So I try not to if I don't have to. But so you can always just quilt your own piece if you really, really want to use something like that. And so what I did was, you can see this came out of here. The other half of this block is what I used. I just turned it over and just did it and just stitched on it. So if you ever have a quilt that's clean and falling apart like this, this is too much to actually use in crafts. This is too degraded. Just turn it over and use the other side, as long as the other side's in good shape. So yeah, so like I said, I do have cutter quilts. I do purchase quilts to cut up, but I try to make sure that they are just so far gone that they can't be salvaged. The other alternative is there are lots of quilts that are made like assembly line quilts. They're made in factories. Those also, you could purchase those, because those have nothing to do with the quilt history. You could purchase those from a flea market or something and run it through the wash a couple times to get it nice and soft, and cut it up if you would rather do that. It's obviously not going to be necessarily vintage, but you can still get a lot of the same effect. So anyway, yeah, I just wanted to let you know what I did with mine. Sorry, I'm distracted. There's a squirrel outside my window hanging off the bird feeder, kind of spinning around and around and around, and I just I was just distracted there for a minute. So anyway, here's my if you haven't seen the other videos, here's my cover for this project. That's the first page, second page, the third page, and then the fourth page. I just love it. I think it's darling. I have a little project I was wanting to do with houses anyway, so this was just calling to me. Anyway, guys, that's it for now. I will talk to you later, and I hope you are enjoying your day. Bye-bye.